Mic check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Right now, the top 3 at 5. Remembering a fallen state trooper. Friends and family pay their final respects to a man who made the ultimate sacrifice.
COVID concerns rock a local college.
I was expecting a lot more relaxed atmosphere, and I was wrong.
The changes being rolled out after an outbreak on campus.
Tracking the potential for heavy rain and gusty winds when storms move in and when drier, brighter weather returns.
Connecticut's #1 local news. This is Channel 3 Eyewitness News.
Every law enforcement officer knows that this could be, by God's will, it could be you, the next one.
First up right now at 5 o'clock, a very emotional day and an emotional farewell to a state trooper. Right now, in fact, people are gathering to pay their respects to Sergeant Brian Mole.
The husband and father died in the line of duty after being swept away during flash flooding last week. Channel 3 Eyewitness News reporter Shantae Passmore is live in Hartford, where that wake is underway. Shantae.
Mark and Aaron, and that wake is expected to end in about an hour or so. And today we've seen people travel in and out of the state to say farewell to the fallen trooper.
A long farewell. Sergeant Brian Mole's procession passed by troopers saluting before arriving to the Xfinity Theater. For Connecticut State Police, it was a difficult morning, knowing they had to say goodbye to one of their own.
I think I could speak for most people that this last night was probably not the most restful night.
Inside, a grieving family remembers the life of this 26-year veteran. Eyewitness News learned Mole entered the State Police Academy in 1994 and worked at several troops before arriving to Troop L in Litchfield. But his end of watch happened the night remnants of Ida struck our state, creating a flash flood in Woodbury while he was on duty. For Mole's loved ones, the loss has been immeasurable, as the head of state police explains.
It's difficult as can be expected.
Police departments from around the region honor the trooper. Understanding the commitment to serve can come at a price.
It just depends on what life throws at us, and we just have to deal with it. It can be a very fun and fulfilling career, but at the same time, in a split second, it can be very tragic.
Sergeant Mole answered that call and unfortunately paid that ultimate price.
And we've learned sometimes families also share in that ultimate sacrifice as well. And if you're looking to help the Mole family, we have ways on the Channel 3 app. And coming up at 6, we're going to take a look at the types of support troopers are receiving during this time. Live in Hartford tonight, Shantae Passmore, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.
Just incredibly tragic. Shantae, thank you very much. And make sure you join us tomorrow to remember Sergeant Brian Mole. We will bring you live coverage of his funeral service tomorrow at 11 a.m. on air and streaming on the Channel 3 app.
We do have some breaking news for you right now at 5 o'clock. The governor confirming just moments ago the Radgowski Correctional Center in Montville will close by the end of this year. There will be no layoffs, and officials say workers there will be moved to other facilities. The closure is being attributed to the significant decline in the state's prison population. Now, this is part of a larger plan to close 3 state prisons by 2023. Northern Correctional in Summers already closed earlier this year.
It is a breezy, warm, and humid afternoon. Right now, we got that southerly breeze at 10 to 20 miles an hour on the average, but we are getting winds gusting to 20 to 30 miles an hour right now. That southerly breeze is bringing in that high humidity. You can see dew points on the right-hand column are in the 60s and low 70s. And after reaching 80 to 85, temperatures in Hartford, Brantford, Norwich, and Waterbury are falling back through the 70s. And you take a look at the camera view, our iCam over Hartford, you can see at times it looks like it wants to rain, but for now we are dry. You can see that on early warning pinpoint Doppler that there's no rain being picked up across the state, but we do have a line of showers and storms across, New York and Pennsylvania on up into northern New England, and that is slowly heading in our direction. Notice that the motion is toward the east-northeast right now. So as far as the severe threat goes, we are in a marginal risk area for most of Connecticut, and we're looking at a slightly higher threat off to our west where there could be some isolated tornadoes as well. And that's mainly across portions of New York into Pennsylvania and into northern New England. So there might be a stray shower or two in Connecticut at 7 o'clock this evening, but the main threat for thunderstorms and heavy rain will come around 11 o'clock right through the early morning hours. That's 5 o'clock on Futurecast. And as you can see, we're going to continue to have a lot of cloud cover throughout the day tomorrow with occasional showers and perhaps even a couple of downpours as well. So while it's kind of looking wet tonight and tomorrow, there's good news for the upcoming weekend. We'll talk about that coming up in the early warning forecast.
All right, we'll see you in a few minutes again, Bruce. Thank you very much. New at 5 o'clock, the fall semester just started, and Connecticut College in New London has already reverted back to virtual learning. This after dozens of students tested positive there for COVID-19. Channel 3 New London Bureau Chief Kevin Hogan is joining us right now live on campus with more on how students are adjusting there. Kevin.
Well, Mark, they are adjusting. They say this is part of the new normal. Even with 99% of the campus vaccinated, they're learning that you can still test positive. It's virtual classes again for freshman Tina Degenhardt. She donned her mask and parked herself under the shade of a tree.
This transition, back to remote, no classes, no people, it is really hard.
Just when students and faculty thought the worst of the pandemic was over, 64 students tested positive last week and 1 employee. 951 tests were performed the week of September 6th, resulting in 57 positive student tests, a campus positivity rate of nearly 6%. Those results forced the school to go to a level 3 alert. No visitors, no in-person classes.
We are aware that the recent cases are connected through friend groups, and some are also linked by 2 events, a night out at a local bar and a social gathering.
Students were socializing, and what we're learning is socializing on campus as well as off campus and not wearing masks.
Now masks are mandated along with twice-a-week testing, and athletics is shut down while the college evaluates the testing over the next 7 to 10 days.
Obviously, I expected things to be different because, you want to be safe, but I was not expecting this many breakthrough cases.
I think we're all sort of tired, but we're making do. And we had a lot of cases, so we had to revert back. It's frustrating, but we're going to make it through it.
So we can get our food and we can go back to our dorm. We can eat outside, We got to be socially distanced. Like most people we can see outside is 3, but we all got to be 6 feet apart.
Those who did test positive are in isolation on or off campus and getting food and medical care. As for Tina Degenhardt, COVID is a learning lesson for all.
There's people who think that, you know, we're vaccinated, we can't get COVID anymore, but like the reality is that like it's everywhere still, and we still need to be really careful.
And on Facebook, one parent, Elizabeth, commenting, Connecticut College praying. My son Kevin is in his third year. He had been very hard time when the college was shut down. Now, the college campus administrators are saying they're going to evaluate all the testing that's going on and then they'll adjust their protocols. Live at the mobile newsroom on the campus of Conn College, Kevin Hogan, Channel 3, Eyewitness News.
Kevin, thank you very much. Now at 5 o'clock, a violent few days in New Haven. 4 shootings in as many days. 2 of them were deadly, and it has the Elm City on edge. Today, New Haven's mayor, along with police, were out and about trying to calm people's fears. Channel 3 New Haven Bureau Chief Matt McFarland is live at the mobile newsroom from Grand Avenue with more. Matt.
Well, Aaron, New Haven's mayor was out here talking with folks who live and work in this neighborhood because 3 of the shootings happened right here in Fairhaven. Police were called to this area last night for a shooting, and then just a few hours later, a few blocks away, another shooting this morning.
My clients come in and tell me stories all the time where they got mugged.
Stopping by this barber shop on Grand Avenue, New Haven's mayor and police try to get the pulse of a neighborhood. One Rubiel Rodriguez calls home.
There definitely needs to be, I don't know if it's more police or I don't know what it is. I can't tell you guys, but it's a big issue. It's been going on for a while.
An area recently rocked by gun violence. 4 shootings in the past 4 days.
Last night I came to my shop to do something at 8 o'clock at night. There was a shooting right there. This morning I came in, another shooting over there.
Early Wednesday morning, police blocked off the area of Shelter Street and Grand Avenue after a 56-year-old man was shot. Just 6 hours earlier, a 32-year-old man was shot near this restaurant, a few blocks away on East Pearl and Grand. Those 2 most recent shootings followed 2 deadly shootings. Monday night, a 45-year-old was shot and killed on Poplar Street in Fairhaven. And on Sunday morning, a 30-year-old was shot to death on Chamberlain Street in New Haven's Annex neighborhood.
I think what we're seeing in Fairhaven, unfortunately, is the result of a lot of people when they have disputes, trying to settle disputes with guns.
Wednesday afternoon, Mayor Justin Elliker, along with the police department's district manager and city staff, walked the Fairhaven neighborhood, talking with residents and business owners, addressing any concerns they might have. New Haven is using a number of strategies, like additional bike patrols and walking beats, bringing back its shooting task force, and hiring more street outreach workers to try and diffuse potential issues. And while there is progress, including making more gun arrests and taking more guns off the streets compared to this time last year, the shootings continue. Last year, New Haven had 20 homicides. Now it's already up to 21, with roughly 4 months still to go, leading some to question whether the strategies are working.
The short answer is yes and no, right? We've seen successes with the gun arrests, and so that's an indication that it is working. The challenge is it's hard to attribute a shooting that doesn't happen to one of these initiatives because you don't know that the shooting didn't happen. So what we can say is that indications are we are making progress.
And the mayor stressed that they continue to need the community's help to solve these cases. In fact, the lieutenant said last night there were a number of people right out here when that shooting occurred. So again, they're asking folks to come forward, and they say all those tips, that information can be made anonymously. We're live at the mobile newsroom in New Haven. Matt McFarland, Channel 3, Eyewitness News.
It took me 5 years to come to therapy. It was working, but I had long periods of wishing I never woke up in the morning.
20 years after September 11th, first responders are still coping with the physical and mental scars, the special support being offered to those who experience the ordeal in person.
Also ahead for you this afternoon, a roadblock for sports betting in Connecticut. We are digging deeper into the delays and when those first bets could actually be placed.
And every second counts during an emergency, but a new app is making sure help arrives faster than ever before.
After 20 years since 9/11, tens of thousands of first responders, survivors, and their families are still finding ways to cope.
Yeah, the pain certainly does not go away. Channel 3's Michael George sits down with a first responder dealing with physical and mental health issues, who hopes others also get the help they need.
Stephen Hess was working as an FDNY EMS tech on September 11th. He raced to Lower Manhattan with tens of thousands of first responders.
I was there the day of, but then I spent more time at the landfill in Staten Island. I had a cough almost right away.
The following years, he suffered several devastating health issues: breathing problems, advanced stage lupus, multiple back surgeries, and mental health problems.
It took me 5 years to come to therapy. It was working, but I had long periods of wishing I never woke up in the morning, and then I actually contemplated suicide because between the pain from the lupus, the breathing.
Most of them have post-traumatic stress disorder, but we also see individuals who have major depressive disorder, anxiety disorders.
New patients who have never been treated are still coming in every week, according to Dr. Sandra Lowe, medical director of the World Trade Center Mental Health Program at Mount Sinai. She says 9/11 anniversary reactions are also common.
We started to hear about people having an exacerbation of their symptoms, like more nightmares or feeling more on edge.
The middle of August, I started getting the anxiety and the stress. And even this morning, I was like contemplating canceling this. And then I thought, if this can help one other person.
Hess credits his treatment at the Sinai program as well as his family for their tremendous support. He hopes others reach out for help if they need it. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
Turning now to the crisis in Afghanistan, America's top diplomat is in Germany right now, where thousands of Afghan citizens are still waiting for flights here to the United States. Administration officials say as many as 65,000 Afghans are expected to arrive in the U.S. by the end of this month. Some Republican lawmakers are concerned about the vetting process.
So our screening and vetting process is going very, very well. And we're dealing with very, very few people that have given us any cause for concern.
Now, President Biden's asking Congress for more than $6 billion in emergency spending to help resettle those refugees here.
Also new tonight, and this is some good news, the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade will return to the streets of New York City this year. Spectators will be able to line the streets on November 25th to check out the giant balloons, celebrity performers, and marching bands. Last year's event was scaled down and confined to a very small area near the retailer's flagship Manhattan store. This year, parade staff members and volunteers will have to show proof they are vaccinated.
Now, Channel 3 early warning weather.
Well, fall officially arrives 2 weeks from today, but you know what? We had some real summer-like weather today with temperatures reaching 80 to 85 and made it up to at least 83 in Windsor Locks, Hartford, even New Haven, 83, and Danbury, 83 as well. As you can see, many parts of the state were in the upper 70s and lower 80s. Right now, early warning pinpoint Doppler is scanning the state dry, and we're going to stay in good shape as we go into the early evening hours. It's later on this evening when the storms and the downpours will move in. We're in a marginal risk area across most of Connecticut for damaging winds, a sliver of Litchfield County on into New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey. That's where there's a greater risk for damaging winds and maybe even an isolated tornado or two. And there's also a chance that some parts of Connecticut could get an inch, maybe 2 inches of rain between tonight and tomorrow. And therefore, we're kind of in a marginal to slight risk area for too much rain, what we call excessive rain, which means that there could be some very localized poor drainage flooding and maybe even some flash flooding. Not a widespread kind of a thing, but it could happen in a few towns. Right now, Hartford is partly to mostly cloudy and 79 degrees. We got a pretty good southerly breeze out there, 75 degrees in Waterbury, and actually a beautiful sky in Waterbury and a pretty good breeze blowing in New London, where the current temperature is 75 degrees, and we got that southerly wind at 10 to 20 miles an hour across the state, gusting to between 20 and 30 miles an hour. So it's breezy, it's humid, it's warm, and you can see temperatures right now are mostly in the 70s. Windsor Locks is the warm spot at 80. Actually, Danbury is 81 right now, and we got dew points that are in the 60s to near 70, as high as 72 in New Haven. That's considered to be oppressive humidity. The dew point trend will go down, though, as we go into Friday and Saturday, with some refreshing weather coming our way, and then with warmer air arriving Sunday and Monday, that's when the humidity is going to go back up again. So we're going to kind of seesaw between warm summer-like weather and refreshing weather over the next several days. But this line of showers and thunderstorms, that is a cold front that's going to be moving into Connecticut tomorrow. Ahead of it, showers and thunderstorms move in later this evening. They'll be around overnight. Some locally heavy downpours, and tomorrow kind of an overcast, cooler day with occasional showers, not raining all the time, but occasional showers. And even a few of those showers could be heavy. But watch what happens as we go into Friday. The dry air moves in, and we end the week on a mostly sunny and refreshing note. And that's going to last right into the upcoming weekend, or at least the beginning of it. So lows tonight will be in the mid to upper 60s for most of us, and highs tomorrow will only be in the 70s due to the clouds and occasional showers. Friday, gorgeous, 50s in the morning, 70s in the afternoon. Look at Friday night, near 50, and then Saturday afternoon, a high of 78. And then Sunday, we're going to ramp that temperature up into the 80s. It's going to stay dry Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday. That's for our next chance for showers as we trend a little bit cooler, especially by Tuesday briefly. And for the shoreline tomorrow, a high of 76.
Bruce, thank you very, very much. Still ahead tonight, summer is winding down and the cost of airfare is falling fast. The best time to buy those tickets if you're planning a trip.
And some say it's the most important meal of the day, and we're heading to a breakfast hotspot in Newington. Look at that pancake where they are serving.
It's perfect.
I mean, my
Mine
gosh.
don't look like that.
Well, these are their signature dishes, and they have a whole lot of flavor. The most recent jobs report showed hiring slowed down significantly last month. Even though there are still a record number of job openings right now, there are nearly 11 million openings, in fact, yet about 8 million Americans are the ones still unemployed. Experts say there are many barriers preventing people from getting into the workforce.
Childcare issues that are really difficult to juggle. There are people who live with immunocompromised folks in their homes, so they've got health concerns. And maybe it's also this idea that the previous industry that employed you is still in flux.
Yeah, some good points right there, but job postings on Indeed.com in late August were up 40% compared to February of 2020, a month before that pandemic started.
Well, get ready for airfares to free fall this fall. According to travel site Hopper, prices are expected to drop 10% from September through late November. The average round-trip ticket is projected to cost $260. Not too bad. While that is up from 2020, it's still lower than pre-pandemic prices. The cheap airfares will likely be available until the winter holiday travel rush. Still ahead for you tonight at 5 o'clock. Big delays for sports betting here in Connecticut. We're looking at the final hurdles left before people can finally start gambling.
All right, it's breezy, warm, and humid right now. Check out the ICAM in Torrington, where it looks like it could rain, but it's not raining yet. It's later on this evening and overnight when the showers and thunderstorms move through with a couple of heavy downpours mixed in. And weather conditions tomorrow, overcast and cooler, highs in the 70s at best. It's not going to be a washout, but there will be some occasional showers, and a couple of those showers producing heavy downpours. And the same is true for the shoreline, 70 in the morning and mid 70s at best during the course of the afternoon. But tomorrow, well, it's not going to, the unsettled weather is not going to last very long. We're in good shape coming Friday and the upcoming weekend. Plus, we have another tropical storm to talk about. Mark will have more on Mindy coming up on Eyewitness News at 5:30.
How much is it to go to Puerto Rico?
I don't know. What JetBlue flies there direct, I think. Puerto Rico? I think we talked about that years ago. Yep. I think it was before the earthquake. But Courtney Zeller's done that a few times. Yeah, before.
What do you mean?
Gone to Puerto Rico for like the weekend. Welcome back, everybody. It can be terrifying, really, calling 911 during an emergency, especially when you don't really have an address to pass along.
And that can happen a lot, but new technology now pinpoints emergency calls in seconds. It's all thanks to an app called What 3 Words. The new technology divides the entire globe into 57 trillion 10 by 10 foot squares, each with its own unique set of 3 random words as its address. And it can allow dispatchers to zero in on your exact location.
Even if you're offline with no data, you can still get the 3 words for where you are. If you don't have the app on their phone, they do have a way to send you an SMS, which will take you to a web page where you can get the 3 words.
Pretty interesting here. Experts say What 3 Words is especially helpful during search and rescue operations. The system is being adopted by more and more emergency agencies. The big stories right now at 5:30, a Connecticut casino betting big on sports. But will fans get the full experience for football season?
And another local town decides whether or not to allow recreational pot sales. Why it took so long for Southington to take a vote.
Plus, the local spot making sure breakfast isn't the most important meal of the day. It's the only meal of the day. We give you a taste in Something's Cooking.
Connecticut's #1 local news. This is Channel 3 Eyewitness News.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us right now. First up at 5:30, Foxwoods getting ready to open up its brand new sports betting bar, including hosting a job fair today.
But the big question on a lot of people's minds, will the bar be able to offer sports betting when it opens? Channel 3 Eyewitness News reporter Mike Savino asked that very question. He is joining us from the Answer Desk live at Foxwoods. And Mike, when will people finally be able to bet on sports here in Connecticut?
Well, of course, a lot of people hoped that that would be now, with the NFL season starting on Thursday and, of course, the college football season already well underway. But there are still some hurdles in place before betting can happen. So when can sportsbooks open?
I think the space is going to be exciting. You're going to be able to watch huge 40-foot wall screens of TVs.
Foxwoods is getting ready to open its first sports betting bar as part of its partnership with DraftKings. The casino hopes to open the new restaurant by mid-October and even held its first of 2 job fairs today. But there's one big question Foxwoods can't answer. Will customers be able to bet on sports when the restaurant opens? The Department of Consumer Protection says things are moving along, but they're waiting on crucial federal approvals. Foxwoods says they're ready to act once they get the green light.
Casino operations in general and sports betting kind of go hand in hand.
DCP has put together regulations for sports betting. A spokeswoman says the agency is also actively engaged in licensing the businesses and employees that will be working in the industry in Connecticut while we await approval of the amended memorandums of understanding from the Bureau of Indian Affairs, as well as codification of those MOUs in the Federal Register. Foxwoods is confident all of this will be done before it opens its new restaurant. The Mashantucket Pequot chairman saying, "We expect action from the Department of Interior at any time. It continues to be our understanding that once federal approval comes, the State Department of Consumer Protection will issue mastering wagering licenses."
Outlet, we're hiring in all positions in that venue. This specifically is for food and beverage.
Meanwhile, the casino is going ahead with all of its non-gaming aspects, hiring dozens of cooks, servers, bartenders, and managers for the new restaurant. About 40 people applied for today's fair, some excited about the chance to be involved in the rollout of sports betting in Connecticut.
Now, Foxwoods will have another job fair here on Tuesday afternoon. You can get more details on the Channel 3 app. Live from Foxwoods, Mike Savino, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.
All right, weather-wise across the state, as expected, muggier than this time yesterday. Also a little bit warmer by, say, a couple of degrees across our state. A check of current readings. Litchfield's at 74, 75 Wellington, 76 West Haven, East Hartford 77. And dew point values are up in the upper 60s and low 70s. So that translates, of course, to a muggier air mass. And, it's going to be interacting with an approaching cold front that eventually will bring us the chance for some rain and thunderstorms. But for the time being, early warning pinpoint Doppler, it is scanning dry. As we look westward, you can see the line of thunderstorms heading in our direction, moving into the capital district of New York. We've got the storms that extend back into parts of central Pennsylvania. We're also monitoring in advance of that line some isolated development in eastern Pennsylvania into southeastern New York and even into northern New Jersey. So we've got a lot to monitor off to our west as all of this shifts in our direction. But the greatest threat for severe weather is in the swath of yellow that comes right up to the Connecticut-New York border. And it is to our west where we could actually see some rotating storms. So as we head toward and past sunset. Our chances for rain will increase here across Connecticut. Certainly while we're sleeping, there could be some heavy rain, some rumbles of thunder, perhaps even some gusty wind. By the morning commute tomorrow, the heaviest of the rain with a thunderstorm shifts to the east of Connecticut. But tomorrow we're going to still see a lot of cloud cover, an ongoing chance for some scattered showers with some brief downpours even through tomorrow evening. Temperature-wise for our Thursday, close to 70 at 7 a.m. A couple degrees milder by noon and only reaching the mid-70s by around this time tomorrow for high temperatures. So much more on that threat for strong storms tonight and brand new information with regard to the tropics. We've got Larry and newly developed Mindy. That's ahead in the early warning forecast.
All right, Mark, thank you very much. We have some new information right now about a crash in Newington. The driver of a scooter has died after being hit by a truck. It all happened around 4 p.m. yesterday at the corner of Willard Avenue and Lewis Street. Right now, officers are not releasing the name of the scooter driver. Investigators still trying to figure out exactly what happened here. They are asking anyone with information to call police. Police have made an arrest for a 2018 murder on Garden Street. 27-year-old Vincent Etwaru was found in Florida and just brought back to Connecticut to face charges in the shooting of Randolph Pedama. Etwaru is being held on a $900,000 bond. Police informed us the investigation is still ongoing.
As we get closer now to the 20th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks, we are hearing from Channel 3 coworkers about their experiences. 76 innocent passengers on American Airlines Flight 11 were killed when it hit the North Tower. Chief Meteorologist Bruce DePriest lost his brother-in-law, Peter, who was on that plane. Kara Sunland sat down with Bruce to reflect on that day.
I can't believe it's been 20 years, but it's something that we have to continue to talk about for sure and not forget, because our family has not forgotten over these 20 years. There's still memorial services that go on, and it's just, it's kind of turned the family into a close-knit family. So, you know, good things come out of bad things, I have to say. We have to look at it in a positive way, but I do remember that awful day very well. Back then I was working the morning shift, and I remember watching CBS News, and all of a sudden they were talking about a plane that hit the North Tower of the World Trade Center. And the initial thought was bad pilot.
Right.
And then all of a sudden a second plane hits. So I called up my wife then, Laurel, and I said, Laurel, she was at work, and I said, you can't believe what's going on in New York City. It's starting to look more and more like an intentional attack on New York City. I said this was a flight, one of the flights came from Boston and was on its way to Los Angeles. And she says, Bruce, oh my God, Peter takes that plane every week. He worked for Raytheon. And they called, and sure enough, he was on that plane. He had not called in and said that he was okay. He did not miss the flight. He was definitely on the plane. There's no doubt about that. So by late that morning, we already knew that Peter was gone. And I had to do the noon show that day. But fortunately, I mean, for me, you know, because I was a mess, and I was saying to myself, how can I do the noon show knowing that my brother-in-law just died in a terrorist attack? But we stayed with CBS programming, and fortunately for me, I did not have to go on air as a complete mess and still trying to figure out what was going on.
Now, there is a lot more of that interview right there with Bruce and Kara, and you can find it on the Channel 3 streaming news app.
It is just so hard to hear. You could hear a pin drop in this studio right now as we were listening to what Bruce had to say. Just so tragic. And as part of our 9/11 coverage, we are so proud to bring you the 3 Cares for First Responders telethon. Join Kara Sunland and Renee Danino starting at noon this Friday right here on Eyewitness News. All of the money raised will go towards safety equipment and resources for Connecticut's first responders. And coming up, another local town making a plan for pot. Southington's decision on whether or not to allow sales is coming up next.
Plus, what inspired a local chef to open a restaurant called the Sloppy Waffle? We'll take you there in Something's Cooking.
And Friday Night Football returns on Friday, September 10th, and we want your input on our first F&F game of the week. So where should we go? Voting is open right now, and it's a pretty close race, as you can see right there. So we need to know what you think. Head to WFSB.com/vote-sports, or you can vote on the sports section of the Channel 3 app.
New right now at 5:30, Southington's town planners voted to ban recreational marijuana sales and cultivation. That new law goes into effect September 25th. A vote last night had been pushed back from last month. The new state law allowing recreational pot left final decisions about sales up to individual towns. Meanwhile, a brand new study by the National Institutes of Health showed that more college-age students are using marijuana more than ever before. The study looked at pot over the past 5 years. It represents the highest levels of marijuana use recorded since the 1980s.
A Florida judge is allowing mask mandates to continue in schools despite the governor's order prohibiting them. That means schools can enforce mask requirements effective immediately. The ruling also ends sanctions against several districts which had gone against the governor's orders and implemented those mask mandates. They were paused while a ruling was made. Right now, 13 Florida school districts have a mandate in place.
In medical rounds right now, helping to keep you safe from potentially dangerous slips and falls. September's actually Fall Prevention Month, and it's important to understand the risks of falling. To learn more, Kara Sunland talks with Hartford Healthcare's Dr. Stephen Davis, an orthopedic surgeon at Hartford Hospital's Bone and Joint Institute.
Why is fall prevention so important?
Well, thank you for having me on. Falls are very important to prevent. In the U.S. every year, people over the age of 65, about 1 in 4 people will sustain a fall. And a high number of these falls will result in significant severe injuries and trips to the ER.
And what sort of injuries do you see after people fall?
We can see all kinds of different injuries, certainly head injuries, broken bones. In orthopedics, definitely we're concerned mostly with broken bones and specifically hip fractures. The reason for that is that hip fractures almost always require hospitalization and surgery. There are about 300,000 hip fractures in the United States every year. Women are more commonly affected, and unfortunately, mortality is very common after hip fractures. About 10 to 15% of patients will actually die at 1 year after a hip fracture. And so we really try and work hard to prevent falls in the first place, because the most common reason for a hip fracture in adults is a fall from a standing position.
I know it's something we're always worried about for our parents, for sure. So what's the best way to prevent falls?
It's mostly common sense. There are a lot of things around the home that are tripping and falling hazards. I see most commonly patients trip and fall going to the bathroom in the middle of the night. So it's important to put night lights in strategic areas to illuminate the path to the bathroom. Don't walk on hardwood floors in socks that can be slippery or cause you to fall. Eliminate tripping hazards like extension cords, loose area rugs, or loose thresholds. And these are some simple things that can really help prevent falls around the home. In wintertime, we see falls a lot of times on the ice. A simple thing that I advise a lot of my patients to do is buy crampons, which are little metal spikes that you can strap onto your shoes, and you can buy those at any sporting goods store, and they're simple to strap onto your shoes and Velcro on, and they give you a lot of extra grip in the snow.
Right. Good advice. Thank you so much. We'll go look for those before it gets cold. Thank you, Dr. Davis. Hartford Healthcare is offering a free webinar on fall prevention on Wednesday, October 13th at 5 p.m. You can learn more by registering at hartfordhealthcare.org or just call the number that you see here, 855-HHC-HERE.
Now, Channel 3 Early Warning Weather.
All right, here in Connecticut, we do have the chance for some thunderstorms to move through later on tonight. We'll have more on that in just a moment. We've got some new information regarding developments in the tropics. In addition to Larry, a Category 2 hurricane, we also have Mindy now, our latest tropical storm that has developed over the northeastern Gulf of Mexico. First and foremost, Larry, though, it is going to be staying, of course, the center of the storm to the east of Bermuda and well off the east coast of the U.S., but will certainly bring some large swells and rough seas, some dangerous surf to Atlantic-facing coastline as we head into this upcoming week. And then here's the latest on Mindy making landfall here shortly later on tonight in the panhandle of Florida, and then eventually moving off the coast of South Carolina, and then heading in the general direction, and then eventually forecast to dissipate as it makes its way toward Bermuda. So here in Connecticut, we're tracking again the threat for some thunderstorms tonight. Could produce some gusty winds, some rumbles of thunder, and some briefly heavy rain. Then tomorrow, still looking at least scattered showers showers, highs in the 70s. And then the humidity drops behind the front on Friday. Lots of sunshine, breezy, mid-70s to end the week. The upcoming weekend, Saturday, starts off on a cool note. Upper 40s and low 50s. By the afternoon Saturday, under ample sunshine, reaching the upper 70s, which is right on track for what's considered normal for this time of year. Back into the mid-80s with a bit of an uptick in humidity over the second half of the weekend. Sunday will feature sun and clouds. Then on Monday, a shower and storm chance with a cold front that will move through, dropping temperatures a bit as we head toward Tuesday. Then for shoreline highs this week in mid-70s on Saturday, back again into the low 80s with some muggier weather on tap for Sunday. Right now, our view from Hartford showing a lot of clouds, some patches of blue, 79 in our capital city, primarily overcast with that southerly wind moving Old Glory around there. That wind up out of the south at 17 miles an hour. And along the shoreline from 75 in Groton now close to 80 New Haven or Bridgeport, still 75 to 80 for many communities across interior portions of the state. And while it's certainly muggier today, again, we'll get a drop in humidity as we close out the week, and then by Sunday into early Monday, the humidity ramps right back up. So the catalyst for the showers and storms tonight is a cold front off to our west, heading in our direction, and it will be slow to arrive and also slow to exit. There are no watches in effect currently. That could change. The Storm Prediction Center monitoring areas just to the west of Connecticut, even for the potential for some rotation that could lead to some isolated tornadoes. Storms will tend to weaken a bit as they work into Connecticut. There's also the threat for some heavy rain, given that the ground is fairly saturated, that we could have a renewed concern for some at least poor drainage flooding here in Connecticut. The worst of any flooding concern should be to our west. So high temperatures tomorrow afternoon with a chance for some lingering showers into the 70 to 75 degree range, inland mid-70s. At the shoreline. So for our Friday, mostly sunny, highs in the mid-70s, lower humidity with that northwesterly breeze. Then for Saturday, again, just a downright beautiful day, lots of sunshine. Again, a chilly start, upper 40s and low 50s by the afternoon, mid to upper 70s.
Mark, thank you very much. Taking you town by town, starting in East Hartford tonight. 4 new police officers have joined the department. All 4 were sworn in at a ceremony this morning. 3 of the new officers are longtime Connecticut residents. 1 was born and raised in the UK before coming here. The new officers will begin academy training on Friday, followed by field training in the spring. Congratulations.
And heading right now to South Windsor, where the Wood Memorial Library is reopening after being closed during the pandemic. Starting on Saturday, the library will open to the public on a hybrid schedule. It will be closed, though, October 9th during the Hartford Marathon. Keep in mind, masks are now required for everybody inside, regardless of your vaccination status.
It's my secret recipe, not even my kids know. But then, I wanted to make sure that I made it so that it was very similar to my kitchen.
Oh yes, you are going to want to see this. Coming up, what inspired the sloppy waffle secret recipe and where you can get a taste next in Something's Cooking.
Eyes, beautiful on the outside, but if you have diabetes, there can be some not so pretty stuff going on.
All right, while early warning pinpoint Doppler, the state's only live radar, is scanning dry for now, we are tracking some development to the west of the Hudson River in southeastern New York. So we'll be keeping a close eye on things as the evening progresses, of course, into the overnight hours. Meanwhile, for tomorrow, it's going to be a day where you're going to need the kiddos to have the rain gear. Temperatures at the ride to school near 70. By the afternoon, mid-70s with on and off showers, perhaps a brief downpour. Bruce will have much more on the threat for some stronger storms tonight, and of course what the weekend holds ahead on Eyewitness News at 6.
Okay, Mark, thank you very much. And we are still trying to help local teachers with their back-to-school supplies.
Yes, Kimberly teaches family and consumer sciences at Danbury High School, and she needs screen printing ink plus some watercolor paint sets.
She also has sewing supplies like needles and pins on her list, and you can see the full list and the list for hundreds of other teachers who need our support right on the Channel 3 app. And as her favorite student heads back to class, we want to see those first day pictures. Oh my, she's adorable. This is Michaela's first day of pre-K in Middletown.
Look how cute she is. So happy right there. Amaya is super excited to go to kindergarten in Wethersfield right here. Her mom had to make a collage of all the so many great pictures. She had to make a whole thing.
I know, you can't pick just one. And Owen, Harper, and Spencer are heading back to class in Guilford for kindergarten, 2nd and 4th grade. This is the only year all 3 siblings will be in the same school. We will try to show them a little bit later because I don't believe we have them right now. You can send your back to school snaps to us by scanning the code at the bottom of your screen with your phone camera, or always upload them on the Channel 3 app.
We'll work to get that picture in the news later on.
Yeah, we got to.
Well, for some, breakfast is considered the most important meal of the day, but at the Sloppy Waffle, it is the only meal of the day.
That's because you'll be very, very full at the end. Channel 3's Wendell Edwards shows us how some secret recipes taste in tonight's Something's Cooking.
Right off the Berlin Turnpike in Newington, inside the kitchen of the Sloppy Waffle is the woman who brought it to life. Luz Ramos is the owner of the Sloppy Waffle.
I'm going to open a restaurant. It has to be a breakfast place because I love eggs with everything.
It was an idea born out of grief and love after she lost her mother in 2011.
When she passed, I was like literally paralyzed. I couldn't even make a decision. But this just was like, you know, when it's raining and the sun all of a sudden comes out. That's what happened when I thought about, and I just said, okay.
Lucy, as her family and friends call her, first opened the Sloppy Waffle in 2013. She expanded it 3 years later.
Everything here is my recipe. The pancake, everything, right? The chicken and waffle is my secret recipe. Not even my kids know. But then, you know, I wanted to make sure that I made it so that it was very similar to my kitchen.
She says all the ingredients are all natural and organic. There are several gluten-free options too on the menu, and everything is made right here in this location. Her signature dishes are a combination of taste, texture, and flavors, including the Sloppy Waffle itself.
I've got the signature dishes in front of me, the pancake roll, the chicken and waffle, and of course, the Sloppy Waffle. So let's taste and see exactly what it's all about. That's some good stuff.
And for Lucy, it is a place of comfort.
Eating should be an experience, right? For us, growing up, I was a very poor kid in Puerto Rico. You know, we had eggs and rice for dinner on a constant, and you learn to appreciate how important food is and flavors.
In Newington, Wendell Edwards, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.